So the channel is slowly, hey, I'm here. Figured I'd attack you from a different part of the toy garage. The channel is, it's not skyrocketing, but it's giving me that juice. Getting the juices flowing where every vid I have enough engagement to I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay, I'll do that. And this request has happened about 5 times. People will spot a figure and want to know how I made it. And I'm just going to give you a few pieces of advice when doing a custom. I got some Milliput in my hand. We're going to go to the table to talk about Milliput, talk about what got me into customizing and what will help you to start, because I'm a garbage truck driver. I wasn't like an art major. I used to draw. So for me to be able to make a custom, having no sculpting experience, and I'm going to close the garage. We got weed whackers going. This neighborhood is always ablaze with cars and weed whackers and lawnmowers. So let me close that garage and we'll get to the video. Okay, so step 1 is to join figurerealm.com. It is a good website. It's a tool. Bunch of tips are in there on the homepage. You're going to have to click on customs. They have contests, engagements, people talk to one another. I'm actually Toy Guru on Figure Realm. This is before I knew of Scott Nylick. Toy Guru is because I love toys, and Guru is my favorite rapper from a group called Gangstar. And unfortunately, he is no longer with us. He died about 6 years ago. So if you go on Figure Realm, look up Toy Guru, you will see some of my best customs that I have sold. Now I kind of do customs when I'm in the mood. I like doing repaints more than full customs. Repaints, I don't know, less stress, because there is some stress involved. Join Figure Realm, a lot of tips there. Secondly, get yourself some Milliput. Abe's Epoxy Sculpt is better, but this is cheaper, and it's at Hobby Lobby, and it might be at other craft stores. I know it's at Hobby Lobby. So Abe's, I just order from the company. This is when I'm doing stuff on the cheap. So not only is it good for completely sculpting a head or over a head like I did with KG Beast here, it's also good. Sometimes you're going to have to cut things. You need a Dremel set as well to sand and cut things. And sometimes you got to replace it because you cut too much off or something isn't aligning, and you use Milliput. You mix 2 pieces together and it becomes as hard as a rock. So I'm all over the place. I never have these things planned. I apologize. That's just who I am. This eggplant wizard whose staff broke, unfortunately. This entire eggplant wizard is Milliput. And this is a pill bottle as the base. And I sculpted. And I used my tool. I sculpted this cape. I'm actually kind of proud of this because it's a full sculpt. Complete sculpt of Milliput. You can get yourself some cheap sculpting tools from Michael's or Hobby Lobby and just have at it. This thing, it wasn't as hard as it looked because you look at the picture, the drawing, and you just start forming it with your fingers, and you'll get accustomed to using Milliput. But you don't have to. You don't have to be a sculptor to customize. It just will come in handy. So I get asked, how did you make your KG Beast? Well, a lot of this will look familiar because he is a McFarlane Lobo. So what you got to visualize and attack. That's what I say. So KG Beast, big diesel brolicky guy. I noticed you could rip this off. So these extra pieces, you can use other pieces of your figure. You can use a cape you're not using anymore. This is actually styrene. This is styrene in a tube. Polystyrene. It's plastic, folks. It's what it is. It's plastic. You can get it in flat sheets. You can get it in these tubes. I'll show you why I got it in tubes in a minute. I ran out of the flat sheets. So you cut the strips. You use a blow dryer. It doesn't melt it or anything, but it gets it nice and soft. So you can then stick it on there and glue it. And then when you paint it, I mean, it's plastic. It's plastic you can manipulate with heat, and you can just glue it on there. Always save figures for, even if you fall out of love with figures, fodder. This bullet bandolier, I got that from a figure from like 15 years ago. This gun is from a heavy metal figure. But, you can, and I just kind of added this gun blade to it to make it more, intimidating. This is fodder. I don't know what that's from. So you just got to use your imagination, and you got to plan ahead. This was actually the original Lobo head, and I just epoxy sculpted over his mouth. This is actually a 3D printed head. I don't have the original head here. So just say you had this head. I used that the Milliput, and you can just smear it over that mouth, and that was that. The head isn't perfect. The chin is a little misshapen, but this is a really, I hope McFarlane makes KGBs, but it looks good, and I'm really proud of the way he came out, and he fits right in with the McFarlane line. So Lobo is a custom head, custom paint job. That's KGBs. Let me get him out of here without dropping him. I'm not going to cut away. We're going to just keep filming. I crossed 700 subs. I'm really happy about that. And I want to thank everyone. I don't want Lobo to fall. Please bear with me. I'm going to put him back on the shelf. And that wasn't him. Customizing is about, it's about practice, and just like I said, you have to plan ahead. Just because you want a classic penguin figure in your collection doesn't mean it can happen because you learn to customize. These things happen because the light bulb will go off, or you'll see something else. And I saw someone, Ink Drop Customs is the gentleman. The guy is a genius when it comes to coming up with what's called recipes for figures. And he's kind enough to share them recipes. And I love this figure. And when I saw him turn it into Space Ghost, I knew I had to. That's what this guy is. Okay, now I did a few different tricks of my own. I added the styrene up here and put the symbol like that. I think his was different. I added these bits on the side with styrene. Yeah, that's that figure. This belt right here is actually black foam. You could buy like foam strips at Michael's. You got to use your imagination. It isn't about, just because a figure you buy is all plastic, doesn't mean that a figure you make has to be all plastic. You have to use anything you can to have this figure on yourself looking good. Remember that. Don't be bogged down with it has to be like it's made at the factory. It doesn't have to be. It has to be what you want and what you need for it to look good on the shelf. So there's foam in there, styrene in there. The thing about a cloth cape is it will get dirty and you can't clean it. Thing about white was able to cover on this because this was basically the gray. Okay? I sprayed it. Don't ever try to paint white. It's not going to work, especially if you're trying to do white or yellow over black. It's just not going to happen. I'll show you an example of that next. So, I shaved the ears off. To get a cape to sit like that, you're going to have to Dremel. Dremeling will have some tools, and you're going to have to just carefully Dremel in there to get like a groove in there to add a cape like that. Or you could just use the cape he came with if you want to play it safe. It doesn't have to be a cloth cape. The most difficult thing about that was getting that white to cover. It wasn't covering at first, and I bought a different paint, and it covered spray paint. It was a primer plus paint. Check out Ink Drop Customs. Guy does a lot of fun stuff. Now, another one. Okay, this yellow, see, and the red is starting to chip. That will happen. I don't think I sealed him. So you have some rub. If you look up close, the yellow kind of is bleeding through. This was actually infected soups from McFarlane. I'll pull that out. I'll go grab that. Or maybe it was he's uses buck for so many figures. You see the lines in there, yeah. So the white is styrene, the belt is styrene. This flame effect is from a Freddy Krueger McFarlane. That head, how did I do that head? I know I sculpted this. I sculpted the shoulder pads with the Milliput, and I sculpted this helmet piece. And I think I just sculpted flatly over the mouth and punched in with the tool to sculpt the mouth. You know, it's as classic as I can get to him. This right here is actually wood and a piece for jewelry from Michaels, because I wasn't going to sculpt that. So like I said, you got to use some ingenuity. You got to look anywhere you can for resources for customizing. Michaels, don't just go to Michaels and look at the paint section and the paint brushes. Go to the jewelry section. Go to the wood section. Anything you can. This is like a little piece of wood that they sell there. I'm not going to be able to sculpt that. I mean, I could have cut styrene out, maybe, but that just made it easier. And yeah, looks pretty good. And that was that. Moving on from McFarlane. This is kind of my own creation. I love the game Fallout 3, and I love things, I don't know, creepy, weird, old, rotted out things. This is Balloon Boy. He's a robot that you would put a quarter in, or a nickel rather, and he would give you a balloon, and he would, like, say your fortune or something. Story I made up. This is the droid from Star Wars, Obi-Wan show. This is a Mego head. And the rust technique that I love to do, Jacob, if you're watching, you know, it is what it is, buddy. Maybe I'll rust up one of your figures one day for you. I know you love it. Yeah, so you add some animals there, and it looks like he's just been sitting there for years, or maybe he comes to life. So, you know, customizing, my first custom I did was like a Casey Jones, and I couldn't believe, I was like, I'm really nailing this. And if you go on Figure Realm, go to Toy Guru, you will see that Casey Jones. It was a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and there's been customs I've failed miserably at, and I just give up, and you get bummed, and you just kind of move on or do a repaint. A repaint always gets me back into the swing of things, and that's why I like doing repaints. It just gets that last custom that you failed at out of your mind. And when you knock a repaint out of the park, you get your confidence back up and you go right back into it. I hope some of the things I rambled about today helped. Any questions, or just ask me. Oh, here's another custom I did. Any questions, feel free to ask. I'm always available. Hardball from G.I. Joe. It's a McFarlane helmet. And Outback mixed with somebody else. I don't know. Take care, have fun.